Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to picture a map of North America in your head right now. Have you ever really stopped to just look at Alaska and try to wrap your head around its absolute brain-breaking scale compared to the lower 48? It is incredibly easy to view this place as just a snowy little appendage tucked on the top of the map, but the truth is entirely different. It is a land of unimaginable extremes, a place where staggering natural beauty collides head-on with incredibly harsh daily realities. Today, we're breaking down exactly what it means to actually live in America's most isolated state.
So let's dive right in. Today we'll be covering the massive lost frontier, the harsh realities, the southeastern hubs, the frozen interior, and finally, Anchorage, the big city.
Section 1. The massive last frontier. Let's talk about geography and scale.
Before we can even begin to understand the people or the economy out there, we've got to understand the land itself. 665,400. That's the square mileage of Alaska. I mean, it's geographically way more similar to a Canadian province than it is to any other U.S. state. To put that massive landmass into perspective, if you were to take Alaska and drop it right on top of the contiguous United States, it would stretch literally all the way from the East Coast to California. It's the largest state in all of North America. And look, this isn't just empty space, right? It's defined by unthinkable natural wealth. Get this, 100,000. That is the number of glaciers scattered across the state. 100,000! Not only that, but Alaska is home to America's first, second, and third highest mountains. That, of course, includes Denali, the highest mountain peak in all of North America. The sheer volume of water and untouched wilderness is honestly just as staggering. 3 million lakes. Let that sink in for a second. 3 million. And 34,000 miles of coastline. Because of this, Alaska remains one of the few truly wild habitats left for animals like polar bears, moose, and caribou. But as we're about to see, this exact same awe-inspiring, rugged immensity is kind of a double-edged sword. Section 2. The harsh realities. Isolation and survival. Nature here is undeniably beautiful, for sure, but that deep natural wealth contributes to severe isolation. The distance from the lower 48 makes daily life incredibly difficult. So I genuinely want you to ask yourself, could you actually survive the last frontier? The nickname itself implies a final barrier between human society and complete wilderness. Residents face extremely cold winters, months of relentless darkness, and a polar night that only grows darker the further north you go. Add to that an incomplete highway system where several towns completely lack access to roadway outlets. So what does this all mean for your wallet when you live in such an isolated place? Well, on the pro side, Alaska does not levy a state sales tax or a state income tax, and the median income is actually very competitive. But on the con side, and it's a big one, the cost of living is nearly 30% higher than the national average. It's one of the most expensive places to live in the United States, effectively wiping out those tax benefits right off the bat. But honestly, economics might not even be the most concerning factor here. Residents face two pretty grim realities. First up, public safety. Alaska actually has the 5th highest rate of violent crime in America. Second, logistics. You can't just pack up a moving truck and drive from the lower 48 to Alaska. It is completely disconnected and can only be reached by air, by boat, or through an international passage all the way up through Canada. Importing basic goods is just a massive, massive logistical nightmare.
Section 3. The southeastern hubs. Isolated communities.
Okay, now that we've seen the macro view of the state's geography and overarching challenges, let's zoom in on some actual communities. First up, we have Sitka and Ketchikan. Sitka is a legitimate, albeit very small city, with just over 8,000 residents. But living there comes at a steep premium. The cost of living is about 40% higher than the national average. Then you have Ketchikan, which is a bit smaller, but absolutely essential. It serves as a major hub for Alaska's vast fishing economy. So they might be tiny cities, but they're true economic lifelines. Now, what's really fascinating is Juneau. This is the 3rd largest city in the state, with just under 32,000 residents. It's surrounded by these gorgeous ocean views and tall mountains, and it features a thriving economy based around government, tourism, and fishing. It also happens to have the lowest crime rate of Alaska's top 3 big cities. But here's the absolute kicker. It is the capital city of Alaska, and yet you cannot reach it by car. No way. Even from other southeastern cities, you have to take a boat or a plane just to get to the state capital. That alone pretty much sums up the state's staggering remoteness.
Section 4. the frozen interior. Let's journey north.
So we're leaving the coastline behind and heading deep into the state. Welcome to Fairbanks, the second largest city. They call it the Golden Heart City because of its central location and a famously warm, welcoming community. But make no mistake, it is known for brutally long, cold winters due to how close it sits to the Arctic Circle. So how does a city even survive up here? Well, through a really unique culture of skiing, snowmobiling, and ice fishing, and a strong economy driven by the University of Alaska Fairbanks and the famous and somewhat controversial Trans-Alaskan Pipeline. As for crime, it sits right in the middle. More than Juneau, but less than our final stop.
Section 5. Anchorage, the big city, a modern metropolis. Located down in south-central Alaska, this is the closest thing the last frontier has to a traditional metropolis. And a quick look at the numbers brilliantly illustrates the demographic reality of the state. Despite 665,000 square miles of total land, more than half of Alaska's entire population huddles together right here in the Anchorage metropolitan area. It is absolutely the undisputed center of gravity for the entire state.
Anchorage boasts nearly 300,000 residents. It's the de facto transportation hub, housing the Port of Anchorage, the Glen Highway, and the Ted Stevens International Airport, which is the most trafficked airport in the state by a mile. It's home to the state's tallest building, its largest university, and major companies like the Kiewit Building Group, Far North Digital, and the Alaska Railroad. But with big city amenities come big city problems, right? Anchorage has the state's highest rate of crime, though it varies significantly depending on the neighborhood. It shares a lot of the downsides of big city living elsewhere in America, just with a very unique Alaskan twist. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. Are the impeccable northern lights, the wide open spaces, and the completely untouched wilderness actually worth the incredibly high costs, the logistical nightmares, and the extreme cold? I mean, cities like Chicago or New York don't exactly have polar bears or Denali in their backyard, but they also don't require you to take a boat just to get to the state capital. The last frontier is a place of truly breathtaking beauty, but it demands absolute resilience from anyone brave enough to call it home. What do you think? Could you make it in Alaska?